All right, the title of my talk today is How React Literally Waters My Lawn, or alternate title, Functional Reactive Irrigation. I guess that was my dad joke. So a little bit about me. I am a family man. I have 5 children. I used to have a small family. Now I have a big one. I like to ride my bike. My dad and I ride bikes sometimes across a few states. This is us after finishing 200 miles together, and we did the whole thing with matching socks, which was pretty cool. I work for HireVue as a software engineer. I've been there for a few years, and we do a lot of awesome stuff. We help people. We basically help job interviews suck a lot less than they used to suck, and we help a lot of people tell their story better to employers who wouldn't otherwise have a good voice. These are some of my children who are, they are satisfied customers of the Tattoos for Babies program. You might remember me as the stupid guy from ngconf who put React in Angular and talked about it and then made a stupid mistake at the end and had to amend my video. So let's get into it. This is serious business. Jameson said this was going to be lighthearted, but he was wrong. This is serious. You've heard a lot, we use a lot of metaphors in software industry. We talk about deploy pipelines, graphics pipelines, Mario pipes, internet pipes. But this talk is going to be about actual pipes. This is not a metaphor. This might be confusing, so I'm going to make it really clear. We are talking about actual water-carrying, underground, plant-watering pipes. Pipes. This is not a metaphor. Oh, not that kind. This kind. So I only do fun stuff, and I hate doing yard work. So I decided to take my standard sprinkler system that came with my house, which bothered me because it was hard to use and I didn't understand it and I didn't build it. So I took it and I replaced it. But I wanted to explain to you what a standard sprinkler system looks like so you can know what I was up against. So first of all, if you look here, typical system, 110 volts of good old-fashioned American alternating current going into this controller here. The controller craps out 24 volts of alternating current, feeds a valve, the valve takes water and then literally spits that water onto your yard. My yard has 12 of these valves and a whole bunch of these. These are the things that you may have seen because when they break, they're the things you pay the guy to fix. I don't know what else. And so you might be wondering, how did I figure out it was 24 volts? Easy. So after I got back from the hospital, I bought one of these, and I recommend if you ever embark in a hardware project, you definitely should get one of these first. Really, really useful. And I would recommend not starting by plugging it into a wall outlet. That's just stupid. I don't know. Like I said, this is serious. Before I show my next slide, I want you to forget everything you know about irrigation. So here's what I built. First of all, 110 volts AC. I scrounged up an old Dell laptop power supply to crank out 12 volts of DC. That went into this little board. This is vintage 2011 technology. I'll tell you more about that later, but it's called the Router Station Pro. Oh, this is before we had Raspberry Pi. I ordered a 24-volt AC transformer and a relay board from Hungary. Some guy makes these in his basement and sells them to you on websites. That relay board then will switch the 24 volts AC out to your water valves, which then, of course, spits the water onto your grass. The main reason I did this is so that I could hook it up to the internet, which is perfect. Also, that is a relay board, but it's not a GraphQL relay. It's different. It is a component, but it has nothing to do with React components. Here's a picture of it. There you go, all packaged up nice, ready for sale. Put that on a retail store shelf somewhere. You may think that is duct tape on that electrical cord there. That is not duct tape. That is electron data binding. So here's where I got the relays from that guy in Hungary. I think I used PayPal to buy this, actually, so incidentally. Which means I was using some kind of weird C++ XML thing without even knowing it. Here's the Router Station Pro. This thing cost me $90. You can get a Raspberry Pi that's twice as powerful and a third of the price today. So if you had to do this, I would highly recommend you just get a Raspberry Pi. They're freaking incredible. Here's my software stack. So remember, this is 2011, and at the time I built this thing, the board was running OpenWRT Linux on the hardware. That's just a simple distro you can get for that particular board. I was using libUSB, which is a userland USB interface that makes it incredibly difficult to control USB devices. I used Python simple HTTP server, which was a very small little piece of Python code to allow inbound HTTP requests to control my sprinklers. And the obvious choice, of course, is a YAML HTTP API, which I built on top of that. And then I built an iOS app that talks to that over the internet so I could control it. This YAML HTTP API, that doesn't really do it justice. It was really more like irrigation query language, or as I like to call it, H2OCL. Here's me on Facebook in 2011 bragging about my little app that I wrote. 3,000 lines of code. Every line had tender, loving care. And this is the point where you go, what? 3,000 lines of code? Yeah, it was. And it even had memory leaks, too. I didn't have to write extra code to get those. So 4 years fast forward, and Facebook comes out with this thing called React. Really wish you guys would have done this in 2011. Whatever. So we kicked the iOS client off the top of the stack, and I threw a React web app on there. This one things got really fun, and this is what it looks like. Here's a little screenshot of it, and you might get to see it working here in a few minutes. So you can see it's just a simple web app, title, tells you what's going on. Here's a list of my watering schedule stuff, what zones I want to run, how long, what time of day. And it's pretty fun. Works great. Here's what it looks like when you want to add a new watering. This is advanced CRUD. So, some people do static analysis with abstract syntax trees. I use the command line and xargs and wc and the find command. I pulled up all of the JS files, anything ending in JS, JSX, and I counted all the new lines, and there's 1,035. It's pretty good, 1,000 lines. Compared to the iOS app, which had 3,700 lines, I went back and recounted. That's not including the 2,000-line YAML library written in C that I had to find to get this thing to work. That is an 80% code reduction, my friends. 80%. Just imagine if the world could reduce their code by 80%. Oh, that's science. A little side note here. I just wanted to apologize to the conference organizers. I forgot. I didn't get the notice we were supposed to wear pink shorts. There's been 2 speakers. It looks great. Sorry, I screwed that up. So when you're building a React web app, and this is the situation I was in, you really have to ask yourself a question. Will I use Flux or not? You've probably seen this diagram. This is the Ryan Florence memorial diagram. Wish he was here with us today. I just saw him leaving right before I stepped on stage. I'm sure it was a coincidence. And this is what it looks like, the circles and the loops and the arrows. And I usually think of this when I see the Flux diagram. But I'm not, I'm kind of a slow-moving, single-track, kind of easy-going person. This is really more my speed. There are some young whippersnappers with their hands up in the air, but not me. No. Holding on. So, here's how I decided to do it. I started with the Flux diagram, and I just started deleting crap. The first thing was I thought, I like stuff hanging off on the right, not the left, so I'll just move that over there. And then I'll just get rid of those because I don't know what that is, and that, and that. And then I need to finish the loop, so we'll just do that. So this is what I built. And remember, this is 80% less code than iOS. Mostly because I deleted 50% of the squares on this diagram. So since it's a good idea to put pictures of, oh, I forgot to blur out his name. Sorry, Ryan. So Ryan once said, after I was complaining about Flux, not really complaining about it, he said, it's funny how centralizing complexity of an app upsets people, surfacing the mold in your house that's making you sick. It's a good point. Here's what I say. I keep my complexity in the same place I keep my emotions. Buried. Where no one can see them. Here's what my app looked like. If I take that slide and kind of simplify it and flatten it out, this is what you get. I'm not recommending this, but it's what I did. So first of all, I want to break down what the app looks like. We have a watering list component, which I showed you earlier. It's that thing in red. There are 3 waterings in this watering list. Here's how it looks. When the component mounts, it hooks up an event to the watering store. Anytime it changes, it sets the state to the waterings. Pretty easy. Here's what it looks like in real time. Starting at the top left here. When the watering list comes online or mounts, it sends a message over to the watering store to say, hey, start polling. Then the watering store goes into a poll loop, does a get against the API utils, which then do an HTTP get. That's the H2OCL, YAML API. Responds synchronously, of course, but JavaScript makes it look asynchronously. The API then resolves the promise, little API utility, resolves a promise back to the watering store then stores off the new watering data, emits a change event that causes the watering list to set state. 3 seconds elapse, and the watering store does it again. If the watering list has changed, it will, on resolving of the promise, emit a change event, and so on. Pretty straightforward. That's how that works. Then we have another component I wanted to show you called the add watering form. And all this is like, it's the C in CRUD. This is where you create elements, waterings on the list. Simpler flow, add watering form just says, hey, watering store, I want you to add a watering. Watering store says, okay, I will post that. API will do the actual HTTP post. The server will respond. The API utility will resolve the promise. Watering store will then emit a change event to say, I have a new list of stuff that includes your new watering. It'll actually do a get in there as well to make sure you get the latest. The watering form will then close. Meanwhile, remember the watering list will be updated because it emitted an event as well. So that's pretty cool. By the way, you guys suck at endorsements. 8 endorsements on Jameson's LinkedIn profile. Come on, WTF. The guy yodeled like twice. That's 2 more times than any of you have yodeled right here today. So anyway. So the next question, the title of my talk was functional reactive irrigation. And the first thing you have to deal with when you're building a scheduling-based application is that the concept of now is really a global, mutable state. And it mutates all the freaking time. Literally. Like it just did it. The question is, how do you deal with this? And the answer is, I think that whenever you're dealing with time, you have to factor time out as a function parameter. You can think about this conceptually or literally as a function parameter. And what it means is that you need to write your code in such a way that now is just an input, and that it doesn't know about now or how to get now, but rather it is given now. And then your app can just pull its guts out and update the UI whenever it needs to change. That's what I did with this Sprinkler app. So next thing I want to talk about is how great it is to live in an ecosystem that React has influenced when you have wimpy hardware. First of all, wimpy CPUs love serving static files. They love bundled single-page apps because it's generally just one request and you get your whole app. They hate rendering HTML because that is slow, and every template library on the planet is slower than just returning a file. And they love serving up JSON or YAML or other little formats like that. Just to show you what I mean, this is my build. So the iSprinkle app is got an index.html, which is tiny, 157 bytes, and then a single bundle that I call main, because when you only have one of something, you should call it main. And it's 695K, but that includes React, which is like what, like 700K of that or something? or maybe more, I don't know. It's like by far the biggest part. But that's true of most of our applications, right? Our third-party libraries are the majority of our stuff. Anyway, so single-page apps are great, and what's awesome about React is that it encourages you to compile everything down into a single file, which I did with CSS, images, and all of my JSX, of course. And so it's all compiled into a single file, which means when I launch my web app, it just has to do one little request to get index.html, and then one little request to get the bundle, and then you're off to the races. So the big question on your minds is, are we going to get to see this thing working? And the answer is, probably not. Because, well, I'm going to give it my best shot. If you had any idea how many SSH tunnels I had to write to get this stupid thing to work from this stage, you would be very sad. But we're going to give it a shot anyway here. So, okay, here it is. It is actually up. I'm just going to refresh it real quick to make sure. Okay, wait for it. Wait. Oh, yes. Okay. This is working. So this is running on that little wimpy piece of hardware that you saw in my house, which is about, like 15 miles away from here. May as well be the other side of the world, though. And we have here a live video feed. Okay. Little live video feed. That's of the backyard here, and a little bit of the neighbor's window. And let's hope that nothing, yeah. Anyway, I am going to do a quick run of the backyard zone. I'm going to click this button and I'm going to flip over to the screen here and to the video feed, and we'll just see it turn on. And then I just have to remind you that I live on a street full of kids. We have there's 7 houses on our street, but 4,000 children. So, someone's excited. Okay. So we'll just activated that, and look at that, sprinklers. Whoa! Who are all those kids? Oh my gosh. There we go. And now we're going to make a bunch of children sad. Ready? And wait for it. Oh, party's over, kids. Get off my lawn. All right. Good job holding on to your butts. This was my backup photo screenshot in case the video feed didn't work. So, there you go. Anyway, so that's it. That's how React literally waters my lawn. And functional reactive irrigation. Thanks very much, everybody.